this invitation to address you on a Sunday morning, and thanks again to all for the warmth of reception. I'm very pleased that this meeting has been organized by the Professionals Against Corruption. Pleased to make the acquaintance of Chartered Accountant, very senior Chartered Accountant Ranjit Natu, and then have shared the dais with Shri Kailash ji and Shri Natarji, and address you all for is perhaps the most powerful and quiet section of our country, the Chartered Accountants. You can ruin a business, you can make a business look rosy, you can let crooks get away, and you can trap them also. Today I've been asked to speak about the agenda of the next government. I'm pretty sure there will be a change of government. And the present trends indicate, but in politics things change very fast, but present trends indicate that the NDA, of which I am presently a member as a president of the Janata Party, I have the ignoble record of never changing a party in my life. I feel inferior when I look at my other colleagues. And it's not that I didn't have an opportunity. I was pressured many times by Rajiv Gandhi to join Congress, by Narasimha Rao, but eventually I went by the advice of Parmacharya Shri Shankaracharya of Kanchi Kamaputi, who said never join Congress. Because I was offered a high-powered ministry by both Rajiv and Narasimha Rao. And even after I telling him that I will not get this ministership, he said, no, you are not to join Congress, you don't know what lies ahead. Now I know what lies ahead. Because I have to battle with the Italians, and it is not an easy thing to do, particularly since the country is unaware of the threat from there. I will today address what kind of agenda, based on my discussions with the key figures in all parties in the NDA, the Shiv Sena, the Akali Dal, the Republican Party of Athawale, the Northeast Party of Sangma, and of course the BJP, whom I know very well because I began my career as a member of the Jansangh. I entered Parliament for the first time on Jansangh ticket. Then Jansangh merged into Janata Party, and for a variety of reasons which are now become obsolete, which I will therefore not mention, I could not join BJP in 1980, but I remained in Janata Party, and don't be surprised, in one of these days you might find Janata Party and BJP might merge also, and so I should be back in my old company of Jansanghis once again. But knowing all the members of the NDA, I have a reasonable confidence that the kind of agenda I'm going to present to you will be the one that will be implemented. So in order for that, I will divide the topic into 4 parts, to make it not to make it a dull recitation of the agenda. First, I will say, in formulating the agenda, what is the potential of this country that we must tap? And the first potential of India is its young population, which is now being called as demographic dividend. Once upon a time, they used to talk about it as a population problem. But today, they talk about it as demographic dividend. Why? Because the world over, nations are becoming aged. And this is creating problems. What is the problem in Europe today? What's the problem in Greece? What's the problem in Spain? Why are they heading towards bankruptcy? For one reason, that the number of people leaving the labor force, retiring, and then living longer and longer is much larger, these number of people is much larger than the number of people coming into the labor force because of smaller and smaller families. And this has been done rather drastically. And some countries has gone to an extreme like Japan. But Europe is facing today the problem because they have to pay pension funds, out of pension funds, to the people who retire and live. And that previously was easy to do because more people came in than went out. So from their salary they could deduct the provident fund, gratuity, etc. for when they retire. And out of the fund they could pay the people who were retiring. So there was no financial problem. Today there is a pension bomb. And that is the root cause of the problem in Europe today. America has managed the problem because they have allowed liberal immigration. And Europe doesn't have that kind of liberal immigration policy as America, compared to America. And Japan has no immigration policy at all. They just don't let people come in very easily. So the average age of the Japanese population today is 50. The average age of European population is 48. The average age of the United States of America is 38. The average age of China, because of this crazy one child per family rigidly and vigorously imposed, is 37. But the average age of India is 27. 70% of our population is below the age of 35. Now everybody knows that this is the young population that will produce the new results that come with fresh education. And therefore, if this below 35 age group can be empowered with enough skill that we can then use that skill for further economic development. Economic development is not based on more capital and more labor, but is based on the skill and the technology that you impart. And therefore, our first agenda must be to completely restructure, clean up, and make it skill-oriented, the educational system. So I would say that that educational system should focus on research and development to prepare our people from schools to go to colleges, from colleges to go to universities, from universities go to research. And from research, do original research, have patents and so on. There are many things waiting to be done. For example, we can easily do two things which will solve your energy problem. One is commercialize the hydrogen fuel cells, which we know now, our scientists know about. The Americans have done it all, but the Americans are refusing to commercialize it because they have got plenty of oil. They have put oil under the ground which will last them for another 60, 70 years. So the oil companies are such a powerful group in the United States. They say, no, don't touch this hydrogen fuel cell. Hydrogen fuel cells is a battery that you will put in the car, and through the chemical reaction, it will fuel the car to run. And it will be totally pollution free. And what will happen is, if the world adopted hydrogen fuel cells for its automobiles, then the demand for crude oil will go down fast. And if the demand for crude oil goes down fast, the Arab countries will be affected very badly. Some say it will be affected so badly that they'll have to return to tents and camels and not what they have at the moment, because all you dig a hole in the ground, get oil, and then you sell it and you get lots of money. Which means also financing of terrorism by certain countries of the Arab world would cease. But this is something which since we are importing a huge percentage of crude oil from abroad, this will solve a problem. We should focus on that. We should focus on thorium as a fuel for the nuclear reactors. Homi Baba foresaw this, and somewhere in the halfway we forgot after he was killed in the air crash. He saw that since India has 60% of the thorium, and uranium will exhaust itself completely by 2050. This thorium cycle, if we can crack, there are 3 cycles, 3 stages, is fuel. And if we can have thorium-based nuclear reactors, which is very easy within reach, you will have enough clean power for the whole country. This power problem will go. Even today, power problem is largely because of mismanagement of the transmission. If we clean up the transmission system, much of our power will go. This demand for free power by farmers is because they don't know how to manage this electricity. Don't know when it will come, when it will go. There's so much voltage fluctuation that their pumps get burnt out. If you promise them that you will give them 18 hours of uninterrupted, steady voltage electricity, the farmers of this country would be ready to pay for that electricity willingly. That is the truth about the Indian population. If you deliver on a product, they will pay, without hesitation will pay. We've seen this in these new highways that have been built near Delhi, where world-class highway has been laid down from Delhi to Noida, Delhi to Agra, and people are willing to pay the toll there and use it because they're getting a quality product. So the way, therefore, is now agenda must focus on our strengths, the potentials. The potential is democratic dividend, educate our people, and do it where merit counts. Certainly there are sections, there is only one section in my opinion which deserves reservation. That section is that section of population which has imposed social disabilities. Who is that section? Which is that section which has imposed social disabilities? Scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. They deserve reservation, partly also because of the Pune Pact of 1932, where Ambedkar had the vision to reject the British offer for a separate electorate for scheduled castes when Mahatma Gandhi was fasting, and they had an agreement, and Mahatma Gandhi made a promise that when independent New India comes, he will see to it that there are reservations provided for the scheduled castes. So I have no problem with saying that because the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe population suffered imposed disabilities, therefore, for a time being, at least at least every one family should get it once. That kind of system, I'm in favor. But I'm surprised to see today this demand for Muslims and Christians to get reservation. What for? Muslims ruled this country for 800 years. They are ruling classes. And they were not very kind ruling classes, I can tell you. I don't want to recycle history here. And Christians ruled for 200 years under the British. Now, just because they are poor, we're going to have reservations for them too? Well, there are Brahmins who are poor, they're not asking for reservations. There are Kshatriyas who are poor, they're not asking for reservations. Reservation should be for nobody except for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. Of course, in the fit of madness, VP Singh government even gave it to Yadavas and backwards and so on. We'll have to persuade them to give it up. I mean, we'll have to talk to the leaders of Yadavas and Kurmis and so on to say this is not good for you. And over a period of time we can get it back. But now we have given it, it's not easy to get it back. But no further. Education should be largely based on merit. That system has to come and they should be able to perform. Indians, in my opinion, are no different, no matter what caste they are, what region they are, because the DNA tests have shown this today that we all Indians are the same. I am willing to take a bet that Raj Thakure's DNA and the UP Taxiwala's DNA is the same. If you are ready, if he is ready for a test, I can have it performed in the laboratory in Hyderabad to show that their DNA is the same. Either Raj Thakure came from UP or we are all one same people. Now, Therefore, whether there's all this talk of Aryans, Dravidians, North Indians, South Indians, it's all bogus, you see. It has no substance at all. So we must now develop our Indian population in this united way to make them think of themselves as Indians first, then only Tamils and Maharashtrians and etc. etc. That concept of Indian first has been done through the education system, and I think that patriotic feeling that we are one people, one nation, that has to be. By the way, also Muslims and Christians also DNA is the same as mine. There's no difference. They are all descendants of Hindus. And this is something, if they were to accept, it will make a lot of difference in uniting our people. So I would say item number 1 in our agenda should be the transformation of the mindset of our youth to think of themselves as patriotic Indians, as Indians first, empower them to think originally, empower them to think of taking risks in life, not play safe. You see, I have this bad experience at Harvard when I have students from 40 countries in my classes, and at the end of the class I used to ask the students, now that you are going to go into real life, what kind of career you're going to choose? There is one career where you take a risk and you become a billionaire. And it's also possible that you will end up flat on your face and on the street. Do you want that kind of career? Or you want a career where your salary will increase every year by 5%, and at the age of 60 you will get provident fund, and you then use that to buy your flat and then watch television for the rest of your life? You want that kind of a career. So Americans would ask me, what's the probability I'll fall flat on my face and be on the street? Then we'll tell you which career we'll choose. But the Indian was 99.9% would say we want the second career of the steady, guaranteed increment in salary and provident fund at the end of it. So I used to tell the Indian students, why you want this career? This is guaranteed poverty. So their answer always was, at least it is guaranteed. That is what we are looking at. This craze for stability, you see, has to be taken out of our mind. We must become risk takers. Of course, calculated risks. But we must become risk takers. This mindset change, which the British changed very successfully to make us into bubbles, that has to go. Playing safe, taking the easy way, not disturbing the status quo. These are all bad habits we have acquired over the years, and we must now bring about a mindset change, this through the education system. Let me also tell you, one of our greatest potential is agriculture. I'm sorry to see the fate of farmers in Maharashtra where they're committing suicide. They can't get water. There's no shortage of water in the country. It's only a question of management. It's only a question of creating a water grid. If you can't get water in the coastal areas of Maharashtra, desalinate seawater. 100% of the water supply in Israel is from desalination. 100% of the water supply in Saudi Arabia is from desalination. 100% of the water supply in Dubai is from desalination. What's the difficulty? Desalination is known technology. And our friend the Israelis have the best of it. We can easily do it, but nobody bothers. And you see every year these pitiable sites, the photographs, I just saw this photograph of what the Rashtriya Sevak is doing through Jan Kalyan, where you see pitiful conditions of the farmers. And look at the potential of our agriculture. Number one, 12 months of the year, you can do agriculture in India. Can you do 12 months of the year agriculture in the United States? No. 5 months of the year is snow, so you can't do. Same thing with Europe. China also 3 months of the year you cannot do agriculture because of bitter winter. But India, 12 months of the year you can. You can grow 3 crops a year. But we are only on 25% of the land we are growing more than 1 crop. Leave alone 3 crops. Most of our land is not cultivated for more than 1 crop. It's such a waste of land. The yield per acre of the Indian crops is the lowest in the world. Even cotton is higher, it's 3 times higher in Egypt, which is all sand area. But despite being such a low yield, our agriculture prices are the lowest in the world, internationally if you compare. You compare the price of rice with India and South Africa and Japan, you'll find that their prices are 7 times higher. 7 times higher than ours. Take the price of milk. Our emaciated cows give milk, and how much is it sold? The same milk is sold in Europe 15 times the price. Why can't we export these things? And there won't be a shortage in the country if you feed if you give your agriculture all the water and fertilizer, etc. The yield per acre will go up. In our Indian Council of Agricultural Research, we have experimental plots where we are growing 12 times as much. We get 12 times per acre yield as compared to the general yield in the country. The potential is there, and we have to exploit it. Even on milk, you see, we have 150 million cows in our country. Some of them you can see them on the street also. So many cows we have. And the average yield of an Indian cow is 200 liters per year. What is the average yield of a cow in Israel? 11,000 liters per year. Now just imagine if 150 million cows gave you 11,000 liters per year. I'll have to come to this chartered accountant meeting swimming in milk. That much milk there would be in the country. Export it. For that you have to fight in the WTO. Of course you should fight there. You should make a deal and get it through so that we can export our. There is no shortages. You need cold storages. You need district level airports. You need packaging industry. These are the things that need to be focused. And India can, once you globalize your agriculture, the farmers will not need any subsidy. They will earn much more by exporting. And today they don't need any great delegations to go abroad to get export contracts. You can get it from the internet. From the internet you can find out. And who's wanting it? You put in a query, you put a website, and our farmers are capable of doing that if you give them an opportunity. So I would say the second item of that agenda must be the development of agriculture to the point of it becoming a globalized sector. And there is no shortage in this country for that expansion. We have got enough of it. We have got enough of land. We have got enough of water. We have all we need is a focus. The investment in agriculture has been systematically coming down during the last 30 years. Never seen a country which has reduced this rate of investment in agriculture, but India. 60% of the people work, this is the position. So here is another agenda item, easy to implement. Then you have all kinds of other opportunities. You know what is the thing that propelled China? The growth machine of China was that they imported semi-processed goods from East Asia, Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, all these places. Added value and then exported to the West, Europe and United States. Why did these East Asian nations send these semi-processed goods to China? Because previously they were sending it directly, fully processed, but now their labor had become expensive. They found Chinese labor cheap, like in Shenzhen and places like that. So they said, we will process it there and then send it out. Lenovo TV, a Lenovo laptop, it is not made in China, it's made in Taiwan. But the chap is of made in China. The only company which said that we will not accept made in China is Apple. So your iPhone is 90% made in China. But the Americans said no, the Apple company said no, we will put made in USA with assistance from China. Otherwise, 90% of the products you see all over the world is not made in China. It is semi-processed goods from East Asia with the value is added. If you look at the Chinese trade figures, you'll find China has a deficit of trade or deficit of balance of payments with East Asia. But it has a much bigger surplus of trade with the Western countries. So that surplus wipes out this deficit, and their foreign exchange going by leaps and bounds, and all the employment generation is done by foreign investment through companies which add to the value of goods coming from there. Why can't we Indians tell these East Asian countries, you come in through India, our labor is cheaper? So first they will say, what about your hassles? Can we get land? How many politicians we have to bribe? Your roads have got potholes in them. Your ports take 1 week to turn a ship around, when in Singapore it is done in 7 hours. So the inefficiency of India is responsible. These are rectifiable inefficiencies. Build your infrastructure in such a way that it becomes world class, and you'll see that these East Asians will come via India and go. They would prefer India because you've got a court system, our patent laws are stronger. But because of these hassles, they don't want to come. So that should be on our agenda, and that will finish China, I'm telling you. If you really want to defeat China, there are only two ways. One is destroy their export trade to the West by attracting the East Asian semi-processed food to your country. The second thing is work with Indonesia to control Malacca Strait. 90% of Chinese trade goes through that. And tell the Chinese, you do any funny business, we'll close down that, just like Suez Canal. But we have not thought these ways. We have not thought our potentials or strengths. So therefore, these are the three things I would do in the economic sphere, where it will be part of the agenda. But there are obstacles that we have to overcome. These obstacles are sometimes created obstacles. One of the first things they'll say is, where are the resources for this all going to come from? What is the shortage of resources in this country? I want to know. What is the total tax bill in our central budget? 5 lakh crore rupees. What is the total subsidy bill in our central budget? 2 lakh crore rupees. Well, suppose you had auctioned 2G spectrums in 2008. How much extra would you have got? 1,76,000 crores. Almost the subsidy bill covered. If you had auctioned the coal blocks which you gave away free to ministers and their relatives, how much would you have got? 11 lakh crore rupees. What if you had auctioned the oil fields of Krishna Godavari instead of giving it away free to the Ambanis? You would have got 24 lakh crore rupees. What if you bring back all the money of India which is in illegal foreign banks? There's a way of doing it. I can tell you what that easy way is, which this government will not do, obviously. You can't expect them to cut their own nose. If you were to bring back all the money that is there in foreign illegal banks, you will get 70 lakh crore rupees. You add it all up, it's more than 1 lakh crore rupees. And your tax bill is only 5 lakh crore rupees. I would advocate that you abolish income tax. Because who pays income tax? The poor don't pay, they don't have enough money. The rich don't pay because they've got chartered accountants. It's the middle class who pays. And you abolish it. Or if you have no guts to abolish it. I had told this to Narasimha Rao, he said, I don't have guts to do this. If you don't have guts to do it, declare that all your savings in recognizable forms like shares, bank deposits, etc. are tax exempt. That is tax deductible, not tax exempt, tax deductible. That is, from your income you subtract. I have so much shares, I have so much deposits, I have so many bonds. All these you subtract. And on the residual, which is the consumption, you impose a tax. You do that, that's not 100% of my way, but I would, if I were in charge of the finance ministry, I can tell you the first thing I will do is abolish income tax. I will send the CRP and put a lock on the income tax department and tell all the officers, stay at home, we'll send you your office, we'll send you a salary, don't worry. This is the most corrupting department of our country today. Corruption started there. Indirect taxes, rank them commodities by contribution. You will be surprised to find out of all these large numbers of commodities which have excise taxes and sales taxes put on them, indirect taxes, top 25 give you 90% of the excise tax. Put only on these top 24. Remove it from all the others. Paperwork will go down, harassment will go down. And then I am fully in sympathy with your shopkeepers who have closed down your shop and caused you all this misery of no vegetables. They will be so harassed by this new system that has come in. And if you were to do this, your rate of savings in the country will go up. If your rate of savings in the country goes up, your rate of investment will go up. If your rate of investment goes up, your growth rate will go up. If your growth rate will go up through indirect taxes, your revenue will also go up. And that I have calculated shows will be more than you will lose by abolishing income tax. This is called Laffer's curve in America. They found that the more tax exemptions they gave, the higher became the revenue. So therefore, I would say this is another thing that ought to be. It may put a lot of people you out of business. I'm sorry about that. But I know that you can do many other things. You can go into what CSR or something. That is what the social accounting something. Yeah, corporate social. Yeah. So there are many things that you can do because you have a very wide field open, and instead of being all the time worrying which should be put in a contingency account so that it is hidden from the eyes of everybody, and how to show a bogus profit instead of getting into that situation, you can do these more socially oriented things. So I would say this is another great item for an agenda which we need to bring about. There are some risks also. And these risks, one of the biggest risks we have that can destabilize everything is corruption. Corruption has 5 different ways it affects your economy. Number 1, corruption gives you substandard products. You bring out a tender, the minister and the substandard fellow, the fellow can't compete in the tender. He makes a deal, and then he gets the tender, and then he puts substandard material. One rainfall, the road is gone. We build the best roads in the world. Why can't we build it in India? We built the best roads in Malaysia. When Bush landed his troops in Basra in Iraq, and then by road he went to Baghdad, his army went to Baghdad. Bush said at the end of it, whatever I must say about Saddam, that scoundrel that he is, but he built very good roads. But Saddam did not build those roads. They were built by Indian engineers. They built those roads in Iraq. They built it in Nigeria. We are doing extremely well. You see, our automobile ancillaries are winning Deming Prize in Japan every year. How is that possible? Because there you have to meet those standards. So our people perform. Our software companies today are the best in the world. There's a ranking called CMMSCI ranking of 1 to 5. And in the 1 to 5, we have the maximum. We have got 35 companies who have qualified with rank 5. United States, only 15 companies are qualified. China was 0 till last year. Only 1 company now is there. We have no problem producing when the standards are high, when the competition is fair. And we have demonstrated it. So I don't understand why we can't do it within our own country. Because of corruption we can't do. Second thing is corruption distorts your investment priorities. Today 70% of our investment is going directly or indirectly to sustain luxury consumption. Because what do you do with your black money? Some of it you send abroad. Some of it you here build big bungalows with all kinds of marbles and gadgets and so on. And so the rate of profit of luxury goods starts going up. Comparison to the ordinary man's, what is called as wage goods in economics, like chappals or cloth or so on, these things, their rate of return is by relation, relatively, is much lower than the rate of return for luxury goods. So investment starts coming out of these essential sectors and going into this luxury sector. 70% of our investment is today going to indirectly or directly to luxury goods sector. Then artificial inflation. We have allowed now forward trading in agriculture. These industrial houses go to the wholesale market and with cash in their hand, it's all black money, and give it to the farmers, buy up the whole thing, put it in cold storage, artificial shortage created, and boom, goes up the prices. And when it reaches a certain peak, then they bring these products out, and therefore the agriculture prices in the last 4 or 5 years has been going up and down because of this. Similarly, our stock market, today India's stock market is one of the most rigged stock markets that you can find in the world. Why? Because this money goes abroad through the Hawala, and then from there it comes back via Mauritius as participatory note, and then gets invested here. Participatory note, Mr. Chidambaram has created a law by which the SEBI cannot ask you any questions about participatory note. Where did you get the money? All you have to do is go to Goldman Sachs or to Morgan Stanley or to Prudential US investments, what is Fidelity Investments, and put your bori of cash in dollars on the counter and show your Indian passport, because no other country in the world has participatory notes. Show your Indian passport, and that may be also forged because Indian passports are easy to get, and show it. Terrorists are doing that. They will give you a piece of paper called participatory note. You go then to Mauritius, set up a $1 company, and come here through that, invest in the stock market through the participatory note, which will be treated like cash. It won't have your name on it, just the amount. You can give it to the stockbroker, he will invest it. Prices will shoot up, stock market prices go up, and then you sell with the money that you got. Go to the Reserve Bank and say, I did it with participatory note, they will give you dollars. There's no capital gains tax because you're coming through Mauritius, poor country. You see, so out of sympathy we have said any company investing through Mauritius will not be subject to capital gains tax. And now I find in 2G that all these companies have an office in Mauritius. And all these offices are on the same street. Not only the same street, in the same building. Not only the same building, but the same floor. Not only the same floor, but the same room, which is locked without any furniture. Because that's a convenient address to escape all the laws. So what is happening? A stock market has gone out of action. Now see the most serious part of corruption. How do you send the money abroad? Through the Hawala. What does the Hawala man do? He goes to Dubai and telephones his operator in Switzerland. मेरे पास इतना पैसा आ गया है रुपए में. Please deposit in dollars in such and such bank account in such and such pass number the money. So that fellow does it, and when somebody wants to come from here, he has got boris of rupees here to take his dollars and give him the rupees without going to Reserve Bank. But there's one catch in this. If you go through Dubai, whoever it is, he has to tell the ISI of Pakistan what your transactions are. The ISI has today got the names of every Indian minister who has got a foreign bank account, his name, his number, his password, everything. And they'll blackmail you with it, and they do blackmail you. That's why we are so scared of Pakistan. They do anything, we'll say, oh, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Well, we are not going to get Shanti very long, I'm telling you. We are going to have a war with Pakistan soon when the Taliban takes over. That's one of the big risks that we face. We better prepare, but our leaders, they name of Pakistan, they start shivering. So that is because they know that Pakistan knows about you, and tomorrow they can put a photocopy of your bank account returns, secret bank account returns on the front page of the Times of India. That's the end of your career. So therefore, we are compromising because of corruption on national security. Now, there are solutions. It's not that we don't have solutions. One way is to use technology. That's a small part of the solution, not a big solution. Use technology to see that the discretionary power of the officer goes. Railway reservation, huge corruption used to be in the 70s and 80s. You couldn't get a berth without bribing 3-4 people. Today you get it on the internet. Even the internet, they're trying to fix it, but still, by and large, you can do it with minimum corruption today. You get a printout, you will send an SMS, you know whether your waiting level has gone from 24 to 2, you know everything. Or you want a form, land, something connected with land or electricity, you go into your computer and print it out. If you are a poor man, you can go to one of these internet cafes and get it printed out. So you don't have to give the chaprasi some money and to wake up his senior officer so that he can get the form. So that's technology one way. Second way is the American way, which is to, if you catch somebody, don't let him go. Put the book on him. People ask me, why are you going after all Sonia Gandhi and Chidambaram and all so much? This corruption is widespread. I said, no, if I catch these big people, then I've got it all. And 2G is not an ordinary matter. The total amount of money distributed as bribe is 60,000 crores. Nothing compared to 1,76,000 you lost, but 60,000 crores. Raja got only 4,000 crores. Only. That is 4,000 crores nowadays. Chidambaram got 5,000 crores. Why? I found out later. He has slipped out of my hand, but I got long hands. I'll catch him one of these days. I'll tell you how also. But Karunanidhi got 15,000 crores. Why? Because he got 3 wives, so we have to make some allowance for that. And Sonia Gandhi got 36,000 crores. Now, all this money, you see today, is what would have been Indian governments. If you catch these people, then you will have a very salutary effect. And the Americans do that. There was Martha Stewart, the most loved and respected, socialite there was, who was famous for all those recipes she used to give on television. Perfectly honest person. Only mistake she made. She overheard in a party that such and such company was going to fold up. She went home and called up the stockbroker and said, listen, this company, I have these shares, you better sell it tomorrow. So next day he sold it. All of it he sold it. 4 days later the company collapsed. So the American Security and Exchange Commission people started looking at who are the ones who sold a day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days or 5 days before the collapse of the company. And they found Martha Stewart's name. And then they prosecuted her. Sent her to 6 months of rigorous imprisonment. For what? She didn't commit any crime as such by our standards. She only in a party heard. And they said, no, you have used this insider trading. And as a consequence, she spent 6 months. I asked the Americans, why have you been so tough with her? They said, unless we catch the big people and put them through hell, others will not be frightened and think that, doing corruption is a dangerous thing. And they did it with one of my former students from IIT, Rajat Gupta, a brilliant student. I recommended him to Harvard. He got an MBA from Harvard, rose to the top, became the chairman of the Goldman Sachs. And one day he was caught telephoning an LTT fellow. Not that he knew he was LTT, but he was a Wall Street broker called Rajaratnam. The Americans were tapping him to see whether he is donating money to the LTT. And there this man's phone call comes. Just come out of the board of meeting of the Goldman Sachs and we have decided to do this. And the entire world, including Manmohan Singh, wrote a letter to the United States government. Please, for God's sake, he has done such wonderful work. Don't, put him to jail. But the judge ruled. He said, I have got all these messages forwarded to me, but I say all the more reason he should go to jail, because when people like these people, so highly placed, who don't need money, do this kind of thing, they must be made an example of, so that the rest of society knows that the long arm of the law can reach you. And he was sent to jail. He's in jail. But here, Sunil Dutt, bichara, he acted as Gandhi, so he must be as good as Gandhi. What is our country coming to? We have not been able to hang the people who killed Rajiv Gandhi. The widow writes to the president saying, no, they should not be given capital punishment. Why? I didn't see that widow writing when Satwan Singh was to be hanged. Or I didn't see Jawaharlal Nehru saying that Godse should be forgiven. Why should this widow write, Sonia Gandhi write to the president that the killers of Rajiv Gandhi should be not given death sentence? But in our country, these things are happening. It's a soft society. And that is the biggest risk we have today. Anything can derail this country in no time. We are growing at 9%. Our collapse was not due to the American banking collapse, because our banks were in perfect shape, thanks to Mr. Reddy, who was governor at that time, and it was very well monitored. It did not have overexposure to the property field. So our thing collapsed only because this money which had come in through participatory notes suddenly pulled out and went to the bond market in America. And that's what the collapse of the stock market caused this crisis for us. So I am saying that you catch somebody, then don't let him go. If he's big, the bigger he is, the harder you must be. Then it can be done. For that, you need some toughness in your leaders. Finally, the final cure, I said the first cure is technological, second cure is American, third cure is Hindu. What is the Hindu cure? The Hindu cure was first entered my brain when I went as a student to Harvard. And my classmate, an American, asked me whether, he said, can I ask you an uncomfortable question? I said, yes, go ahead. He said, why you Indians followed Mahatma Gandhi as your leader? I said, why? What's wrong? He said, the man is not even properly dressed. How can you have a leader who is not properly dressed? So I said, in your country, leaders have to be properly dressed? He said, of course. They must wear the best suits, they must have shining shoes. In fact, when Nixon had a debate with Kennedy and he came without shaving his beard, the 5 o'clock shadow as it's called, and he lost the election because of that. Then I thought about it, that when you see the Pope, he's dressed in the fineries of satin, and he has got a cap full of jewels, he's got diamond necklace, ruby necklace, all this around him. But in our country, we have Jayaprakash Narayan, totally simply dressed. We have Mahatma Gandhi, who is half naked, you see, and we see our spiritual leaders. Baba Ramdev, he has got just one Bhagwa Kapda. We got Saw Parmacharya, He used to also have just the Bhagavad Kapra. And you see all these sadhus, sannyasis, genuine ones, not all Swamis are sadhus, including myself. But you see our prominent gurus, dharmic gurus, you find them so simply dressed. Because we built a society, not structured it on the basis of money. We structured it on the basis of knowledge, a person who is knowledgeable, and sacrifice. So when Bhrigu created this Varna Vyavastha, which is now degenerate because it got connected with birth, it was never with birth, it was a decentralization of power. When Bhrigu created that kind of a society, he said that the highest in the society will be the person who is pursuing knowledge, but he must not have any weapons, he must not have any money, wealth, and he must not have any land. That is the Rishi. And it has nothing to do with birth. Because Veda Vyasa was born of a fisherwoman, and he became Maharishi and wrote the Mahabharata. And Valmiki was born of Dalit parents, and he wrote the Ramayana, he became Maharishi. The Kalidasa, what was he doing? He was cutting trees, and that too he didn't know which end of the branch he should sit. That person became Maharishi, the greatest Kavi of ours. The biggest Rishi, the Rishi of Rishis, Vishwamitra, was born in a Kshatriya family. It's got nothing to do with birth. But we did not allow wealth to determine the social status of a person. It was based on, the highest was based on sacrifice. And that meant money was essential, but it was not everything. If you wanted to make wealth, no bar. But your status will come if you were philanthropic. Beyond your need, you donated. When I went to the IIM in Ahmedabad to address the students, I asked them after the course was over, why did you come with all this heavy competition to do this degree? What is that motivated you? 99% students told me we'll get a good job with a very good fat salary, which is why we have come. I said, you mean you don't bother about the theory of finance or inventory control or operations research or marketing? That has not brought you here, it is just your salary. He said, yes. My father's generation went for engineering because they would get a good job. We also want a good job. And in Hindustan Times or Times of India matrimonial column, if you say IIM, MBA, then automatically my dowry also goes up. So this society now is becoming one-dimensional. We were never like that. Our Sanatan Dharma never opposed or disapproved of making money. But there was a balance. There was a certain spiritual attainment that will be attained, and that is this balance between material progress and spiritual advancement. That is what has kept our society alive for so long. And that today the Americans realize. Go to Sri Ravi Shankar's ashram, you'll see lots and lots of foreigners. In fact, 2/3 of them there are foreigners, rich foreigners. Why do they come? Their most famous actress, Julia Roberts, she came for a shooting to India. And then after shooting, she said, I want to meet so-and-so, Swamiji. They took her to meet him. She said, I have come here because I'm unhappy. I have millions of dollars. I have got so many Oscars, but I'm not happy. Please tell me how to be happy. So he said, you stay here a week, I'll teach you certain things. She stayed for a week, and she was transformed within a week, because he taught her pranayam, he taught her Gita, he taught her so many things. When she went back to America, this is about 3 years ago, you can see it in Google anytime you want, she held a press conference with her husband on the side and 2 children on this side, and she said, I went to India and learned how to become happy, and therefore from today onwards I and my family have all become Hindus, and she today is a practicing Hindu. We have forgotten what Hinduism. We never knew that yoga is good till America took to yoga. Soon we will take to Hinduism because the Americans have taken to Hinduism. But this is the greatness of this society. The stability of this society is this is the long-term solution. This craze for money, this greed. Rajat Gupta's family informed me the only reason what he did was he wanted to be the richest Indian abroad. What a goal! He had plenty of money and he had world fame. And he threw it all away because of this greed to be the richest Indian in the world. That must go. And that is the long-term solution to corruption. So I would say that if you have one of the agendas for the government should be that we should impart spiritual education as part of our overall education. And that is the way we can build our society. I will say one word in parting and then conclude my speech. We are today heading for a war with Pakistan because Taliban is now increasing its strength. You'll see it in the election results. Taliban takes over, the Americans will buzz off from Afghanistan. They haven't got the stomach for so many people to be killed of their soldiers. Afghanistan will go. Taliban has announced that India is an unfinished chapter of Islamic history. Now, what does he mean by that? He means that when Iran was Zoroastrian, Islam conquered it within 15 years with all the butchery, they made it 100% Muslim. Neighboring Mesopotamia and Babylon, which later became Iraq, in 17 years they converted it to 100% Muslim. In Egypt, in 21 years they converted it all to 100% Muslim. The Christians converted Europe in 50 years to 100% Christian. In India, 800 years of Islamic rule, 200 years of Christian rule, and you're still 83%. You people don't have any sense at all. Others have converted much faster. You're still not converted. That's why he calls it the unfinished chapter of Islamic history. And they will attack you. You better be ready. And for that you need a government which is not blackmailable by Pakistan. And that is the biggest risk I see facing India, the attack to its integrity, attack to its sovereignty by the militant, terrorist Islamic forces which will gather state power with nuclear weapons in Pakistan and Afghanistan. So we now need a new kind of an Indian who is what I call as the Virat Hindustani, who must be able to say, I'm ready to make the sacrifice and see that India regains its place in the world and achieves its destiny. Thank you very much.